It's December 1941. 7 wounded Canadian soldiers are pinned down in a trench under heavy fire. A live enemy grenade lands in the dirt right next to them. They have exactly 2 seconds to react. Before anyone can move, a 150-pound black dog leaps into the trench, snatches the grenade in his jaws, and runs. This animal had zero combat training. He had no understanding of geopolitics or military doctrine. He was a discarded family pet who saw the people he loved in danger and acted on pure instinct. His story begins far from any battlefield, in the freezing boreal forests of Gander, Newfoundland. His name was Pal. The Newfoundland is a rescue animal by nature. Their 150-pound frames and oily water-repellent coats were bred for the freezing surf of the North Atlantic, allowing them to pull drowning sailors to safety through rough water. Because they grow so fast, young Newfoundlands can be clumsy. One afternoon while playing, Pal accidentally scratched a child's face. Fearing he might be dangerous, his family gave him to the local Canadian Army regiment to save him from being put down. The soldiers of the Royal Rifles of Canada adopted him immediately. They renamed him Gander after their airbase. They made him their official mascot and even gave him an honorary rank, Sergeant Gander. By moving the dog from a suburban home to a military outpost, the family unknowingly placed a rescue-driven animal in the one environment where his instincts would save dozens of lives. In the autumn of 1941, the regiment boarded transport ships in Vancouver. Britain needed reinforcements to deter a potential Japanese attack on their crown colony in Hong Kong, and Canada provided them. This map shows the isolated position of the Canadian Sea Force, dwarfed by the massive incoming vectors of the Japanese 38th Division. The 2,000 Canadians were mostly young and untrained. Worse, the ship carrying their heavy transport vehicles and weapons was diverted to Manila. They were walking into a severe tactical disadvantage with borrowed gear. On December 8th, just hours after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese 38th Division struck. The veteran Japanese troops overwhelmed the mainland defensive lines almost immediately, forcing the Canadians to retreat into grueling urban combat on Hong Kong Island. The defenders were out of ammunition, out of water, and surrounded. Every standard military strategy had collapsed. Any prolonged survival here would rely entirely on unpredictable variables. The first unpredictable variable arrived during an assault on the beach. As Japanese infantry advanced on the Canadian perimeter, Gander did what a Newfoundland is bred to do when his pack is threatened. He charged. Barking and snapping at their heels, 150 pounds of black fur threw the advancing soldiers off balance, halting their momentum long enough for the line to hold. Days later, under the cover of darkness, a Japanese patrol moved down a road toward a helpless group of wounded Canadians. Gander materialized out of the night, aggressively blocking the patrol's path and forcing them to change direction. The wounded men survived. The Japanese 38th Division had fought across mainland China, but they were rattled by these nighttime encounters. They began reporting a black beast, a massive growling silhouette that charged out of the dark and disrupted their advances. By the 3rd week of December, the Battle of WWII was deteriorating rapidly. The Canadian defensive line shattered, leaving 7 wounded infantrymen pinned down and completely exposed to enemy fire. This tactical map shows a live Japanese grenade landing directly among the 7 trapped soldiers. While a human's instinct is to take cover, Gander's instinct was to protect his pack. He sprinted in, took the grenade, and ran straight toward the enemy lines. The grenade detonated. Gander was killed instantly. But because his overriding drive to protect his family eclipsed any instinct for self-preservation, those 7 wounded soldiers lived. On Christmas Day, 1941, the starving, outgunned Canadian forces surrendered. The survivors were immediately forced into brutal Japanese prisoner of war camps for 3.5 years of slave labor and starvation. While in captivity, the Canadian prisoners experienced something bizarre. Japanese interrogators demanded to know about the black beasts, plural. The enemy genuinely believed Canada had deployed highly trained biological weapons of terror. They didn't realize it was just one oversized, overprotective pet. When the war ended, the surviving prisoners of war returned home deeply traumatized. For the next 59 years, the story of the dog who saved them existed entirely in their private memories. Canada's post-war culture was focused on celebrating the victories of D-Day and the liberation of Europe. The defeat at Hong Kong was largely ignored, leaving the veterans and the animal who gave his life for them completely unacknowledged by history for decades. But the men who made it back never forgot what happened at Battle of WWII. They spent decades lobbying the government and historical institutions, refusing to let Gander's sacrifice fade into obscurity. Finally, in October 2000, their campaign succeeded. In a ceremony in Ottawa, Sergeant Gander was posthumously awarded the PDSA Dickin Medal, the highest global honor for animal gallantry in wartime. Because Gander couldn't be there, the medal was accepted by Fred Kelly, the soldier who had personally fed and cared for him in Hong Kong. Kelly accepted the award through tears, standing beside a living Newfoundland dog acting as Gander's proxy. Gander's name is inscribed on the Hong Kong Veterans Memorial Wall alongside the 1,975 humans of Sea Force. He is the only animal listed on the wall, categorized as a member of the regiment. Sergeant Gander didn't understand patriotism. He couldn't comprehend military strategy or the concept of tactical retreat. When he looked at those 7 men in the trench, he saw his family in danger and ran toward the threat instead of away.